All right, diving into some Buddhist teachings today, and looks like we're really interested in how to apply these ancient principles to modern life. You sent over some excerpts from a talk about integrating Buddhist wisdom into everyday life. So,
Yeah, and it seems like you were looking for like, practical wisdom,
yeah,
not just lofty concepts.
exactly, yeah.
And it's what's so fascinating about these teachings is that they offer a framework for like living a more meaningful and fulfilling life,
Hmm.
starting with this idea of right action as an art form.
Right action as an art form. All right, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about that.
So it's the fourth step on the Eightfold Path to Enlightenment.
Yeah.
But it's not about rigid rules. It's more about recognizing that, we're constantly creating our lives through our choices and actions.
Okay.
And each day is like a blank canvas, and we are the artists.
So the question is, what kind of masterpiece are we creating? Are we just slapping on paint haphazardly, or are we approaching our lives with intention and skill?
Exactly. Yeah. The speaker even poses this question directly. Are you creating the life you truly want?
Hmm.
It's a powerful invitation to reflect on our choices and to consider whether they're leading us towards the life we envision.
And it makes me think of that Gandhi quote, how I live my life every day, that is my teaching. It's not just about what we say, but it's about how we embody our values and principles in every moment.
Yeah.
But how do we even begin to approach life as an art form? Where do we find that guidance and inspiration to create something truly beautiful and meaningful?
That's where the five precepts come in. They're often seen as guidelines for ethical conduct, but they can also be viewed as tools for sculpting our lives, for shaping our actions in a way that leads to greater well-being um, for ourselves and others.
So let's unpack these five precepts then. And I know the speaker was emphasizing that these aren't just abstract rules, they have very real practical applications in our daily lives.
Right. They're not about being perfect or living in some ivory tower. They're about making conscious choices moment by moment that align with our deepest values and aspirations.
So the first precept is refraining from killing. I remember the speaker telling a story about monks carefully sweeping insects from their paths so as not to harm them.
It's such a vivid image, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
It really highlights the depth of mindfulness and compassion that these teachings encourage. It's not just about avoiding physical violence. It's about cultivating a deep reverence for all forms of life.
It makes me think about our impact on the environment, on animals, even on the plants that we consume, you know? Are we treating all living beings with respect and care?
Exactly. It's about expanding our circle of compassion to include all beings, recognizing that we are all interconnected and interdependent.
Yeah. The second precept is refraining from stealing, which seems pretty straightforward on the surface, right? Don't take what's not yours.
Mhm.
But the speaker seemed to expand on this idea, suggesting that it goes beyond just physical objects.
Right. It's about recognizing that stealing can take many forms: cheating on taxes, exploiting workers, um, plagiarizing someone's work. These are all actions that involve taking something that doesn't rightfully belong to us.
Yeah, it makes me think about the concept of fair trade and sporting businesses that treat their employees ethically. It's about making conscious choices about where we spend our money and what kind of impact we're having on the world through our consumer habits.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that our actions have consequences, not just for ourselves, but for others as well. And that even seemingly small choices can contribute to a more just and equitable world.
The third precept, refraining from unwholesome sexual conduct. I feel like this one is often misinterpreted or oversimplified. It's not just about abstinence, is it?
No, it's much more nuanced than that. It's about approaching sexuality with mindfulness, responsibility, and respect, recognizing the power of this energy and choosing to express it in ways that are aligned with our values and don't cause harm to ourselves or others.
It's about being honest with ourselves and our partners, communicating clearly and setting healthy boundaries. It's about recognizing that sexuality can be a source of great joy and connection, but it can also be a source of suffering if it's not approached with awareness and skill.
And it's important to remember that there are many different perspectives on sexuality within Buddhism, from monastic celibacy to tantric practices that view sexual energy as a path to spiritual awakening.
Right.
But the key is to approach this aspect of our lives with intention and awareness, rather than blindly following societal norms or succumbing to our impulses.
Okay, let's talk about refraining from intoxicants. And I know the speaker shared their personal experience with this precept, talking about how they experimented with drugs in their younger years. But after finding fulfillment through meditation and spiritual practice, those substances just kind of lost their appeal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that they discovered a better, more sustainable high through cultivating inner peace and clarity. They realized that true happiness doesn't come from external substances, but from within.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, right? We're constantly bombarded with messages that tell us that we need to buy this product, drink this beverage, or take this pill to be happy. But the Buddhist teachings offer a different path, one that leads to lasting fulfillment and well-being.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that true happiness is an inside job. It's about cultivating inner peace, wisdom, and compassion. And while external substances might offer temporary relief or pleasure, they ultimately don't address the of our suffering.
And finally, we have the fifth precept, refraining from harmful speech. This one seems especially relevant in today's world where it's so easy to spread negativity and misinformation online.
It is. And
Yeah.
it's not just about avoiding outright lies or insults. It's about being mindful of the power of our words and choosing to speak in ways that are kind, compassionate, and truthful.
The speaker talked about those communicative geniuses who have a way of making everyone feel good just by talking to them.
I love that concept. It's
Yeah.
like they radiate warmth and positivity through their words,
Yeah.
creating a sense of connection and upliftment.
Yeah. It makes you wonder how different the world would be if we all made an effort to cultivate that kind of energy in our communication.
It would certainly be a more pleasant and harmonious place. So we've explored the five precepts as guidelines for ethical conduct, but it seems like they're also about something deeper, right? They're about cultivating a certain quality of being, a way of approaching life with mindfulness, compassion, and a sense of responsibility for our actions.
Exactly. They're not just rules to follow, but invitations to live more skillfully and consciously.
Yeah.
They're tools for shaping our lives and creating a world that is more peaceful, just, and compassionate.
And speaking of shaping our lives, I remember the speaker also talking about the five remembrances, these meditations on some pretty profound truths that can help us live more wisely and compassionately.
Ah, yes. These are reflections that can help us ground ourselves in reality and prioritize what truly matters.
So remind us what those are again. What are the five remembrances? Well, the first one is remembering that we are aging, that our bodies are constantly changing, and that youth doesn't last forever.
Okay.
The second is remembering that we are subject to illness, that our bodies are fragile, and that we can't always control our health.
Those are definitely realities that we often try to avoid thinking about. It's easier to pretend that we're invincible and that things will always stay the same.
But the Buddhist teachings encourage us to face these truths with courage and acceptance, recognizing that impermanence is a fundamental part of life.
Right.
And in doing so, we can appreciate the preciousness of each moment and live with greater intention.
Yeah, it's like that saying, life is a journey, not a destination. Right. It's about savoring the experience, the ups and downs, the joys and the sorrows, rather than clinging to some idealized future state.
Exactly. And the third remembrance reminds us that we will all die one day, that this life is finite and there's no escaping this ultimate truth.
Wow, that's pretty heavy stuff.
Yeah.
It seems a bit morbid to dwell on death, doesn't it?
It might seem that way at first, but the Buddhist teachings invite us to contemplate our own mortality, not as a source of fear or despair, but as a catalyst for living more fully and meaningfully.
Yeah, it's like that saying, live each day as if it were your last. Not in a reckless or hedonistic way, but with a sense of urgency and appreciation for the preciousness of life.
Right.
Yeah.
Remembering our mortality helps us prioritize what truly matters, to let go of petty grievances and to cherish the time we have with loved ones. It helps us focus on what we want to contribute to the world, on what kind of legacy we want to leave behind.
Okay, yeah. And what was the fourth one again?
The fourth remembrance reminds us that everything and everyone is constantly changing,
Right.
that nothing is permanent, and that we can't cling to things or people as if they will always stay the same.
Yeah, this can be a difficult truth to accept, especially when it comes to loss and heartbreak, you know?
It's about recognizing that change is inevitable and that clinging to impermanent things is a source of suffering. When we can accept this truth, we can flow with life's changes more gracefully and find peace even amidst uncertainty.
Makes me think about how attached we get to our possessions, our identities, even our beliefs. The Buddhist teachings encourage us to loosen our grip on these things, recognizing that they're all subject to change.
And the fifth remembrance, which ties beautifully to the concept of right action, reminds us that our actions have consequences, that we create our own karma, and that what we sow, we shall reap.
It's like that saying, what goes around comes around. But it's not about some cosmic punishment or reward system. It's about understanding that our choices have ripple effects and that we are responsible for creating the world we want to live in.
And the speaker offered a very practical exercise for becoming more aware of our karmic footprint.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. What was that again?
They suggested using stones or a notebook to tally positive and negative actions throughout the day.
Oh,
It's such a simple yet powerful way to bring awareness to our choices and see where we might need to make adjustments.
yeah, it's like a personal karma tracker.
Exactly.
That can help us see patterns in our behavior and make more conscious choices that align with our values and aspirations. And they also mentioned the importance of daily rituals, like starting the day with an intention for loving kindness
Okay.
and ending it with a reflection on our actions.
Yeah, it's about setting the stage for mindful action and creating a feedback loop that helps us stay aligned with our values and aspirations. It's about integrating these teachings into the fabric of our lives, making them a natural part of who we are and how we move through the world.
So it's not just about avoiding negative actions, it's about proactively cultivating positive qualities and making choices that contribute to our own well-being and the well-being of others.
That's a great way to sum it up.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the idea of right livelihood, which is all about finding meaning and purpose in our work, aligning our actions with our values, and using our skills to benefit others.
Right. It's about making a life, not just the living. I'm thinking about that amazing story the speaker shared about the Cambodian monk, Mahagosananda.
Oh, yeah.
He dedicated his life to peace and reconciliation, even removing landmines.
It's a truly inspiring example of right livelihood in action. Imagine considering landmine removal your Dharma practice.
Wow.
It shows that any work can be imbued with a sense of sacredness and purpose when we approach it with the right intention.
It makes you wonder, how can we find that deeper meaning in our own work, even if we're not, literally saving lives?
That's a great question and one that many of us struggle with. I think it starts with identifying our values, our passions, and our unique skills, and then looking for ways to align our work with those things. It's about asking ourselves, what do I care about? What am I good at? And how can I use my talents to make a positive difference in the world?
It's about finding that sweet spot where our skills and passions intersect with the needs of the world. And it's about recognizing that even seemingly mundane tasks can be infused with a sense of purpose and meaning when we approach them with the right attitude.
It's about bringing our whole selves to our work, bringing our hearts and minds into alignment with our actions. And it's about recognizing that work isn't just about earning a paycheck. It's an opportunity to express our creativity, to connect with others, and to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
But let's be realistic. Work isn't always rainbows and butterflies. There are challenges, conflicts, and frustrations that can arise in any work environment. I remember the speaker mentioning the 5 poisons that can easily sabotage our efforts to live and work skillfully.
Oh, yes. Those sneaky saboteurs, ignorance, pride, jealousy, enmity, and desire,
Yeah.
they can pop up in any workplace, creating negativity, conflict, and stress.
It's like they're lurking in the shadows, waiting to pounce on our best intentions. So how do we protect ourselves from these poisons? How do we navigate the challenges of the workplace with wisdom and compassion?
Well, the speaker offered a powerful antidote to these poisons, a quote from the Metta Sutra about cherishing all living beings and radiating kindness over the entire world.
Oh, yeah. I love that quote. They even suggested hanging it over our desks as a reminder.
Yeah, it's like a little dose of spiritual armor to help us navigate the inevitable challenges and conflicts that arise in any work environment.
It reminds us to approach our work with a spirit of generosity and kindness, recognizing that everyone is doing their best, even if their best isn't always perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It encourages us to see the humanity in others, even those who might be difficult to work with.
Exactly. And it helps us cultivate a sense of perspective, remembering that our work is just one aspect of our lives, and that our ultimate goal is to cultivate inner peace and happiness, regardless of external circumstances.
Speaking of cultivating inner peace, let's shift our focus to meditation. We often think of meditation as a way to escape from the stresses of life, but the speaker emphasized that it's actually about learning to engage with life more skillfully.
Yeah. It's about training our minds to be more present, more focused, and more compassionate.
Okay.
And it's about developing the inner resources we need to navigate the inevitable challenges and uncertainties of life with greater ease and resilience.
So it's not about escaping reality, it's about transforming our relationship to reality. And the speaker shared a framework for applying that mindful awareness to both our inner world and our outer actions, the four great efforts.
Right, these efforts help us cultivate a more positive and skillful way of being in the world, starting with the effort to avoid creating new negative thoughts and actions.
Mm.
It's about recognizing the patterns in our thinking and behavior and making a conscious choice to interrupt those patterns before they lead to further suffering.
It's like putting up a stop sign before we head down a familiar but destructive path.
Exactly.
But what about the negative thoughts and actions that are already present in our lives? How do we deal with those?
That's where the second effort comes in, overcoming existing negative thoughts and actions. It's about acknowledging our shortcomings with honesty and compassion, and then making a conscious effort to change our thinking and behavior. It's about recognizing that we are not our thoughts or our actions, and that we have the power to choose differently.
So it's about recognizing that we all make mistakes, but that we don't have to be defined by them.
Right.
We can learn from our mistakes, make amends where necessary, and move forward with greater wisdom and compassion.
Exactly. And the speaker shared that beautiful image of the child scrubbed clean, open to new experiences, and creating new positive karma.
Oh, yeah.
It's a reminder that we always have the potential to start fresh, to make different choices, and to shape our lives in more fulfilling ways.
It's a powerful image of hope and possibility,
Mhm.
but it also implies that there's work involved, that we have to make an effort to cultivate these positive qualities.
That's where the third effort comes in, developing wholesome thoughts and leading an enlightened life.
Oh.
It's about cultivating the qualities that lead to greater happiness, peace, and well-being. Qualities like loving kindness, compassion, generosity, patience, wisdom, and ethical conduct. It's about consciously choosing to focus on the good, to nurture the positive, and to live in a way that benefits ourselves and others.
And the speaker emphasized that this isn't about achieving some kind of perfect saintly state.
Right.
It's about making progress one step at a time, one day at a time.
Right. It's about recognizing that enlightenment is a journey, not a destination,
Right.
and that every moment offers an opportunity to practice, to learn, and to grow.
And they also talked about the six perfections,
Hmm.
these qualities that we can all strive to cultivate through right effort: generosity, virtue, patience, effort, meditation, and wisdom. It's like a roadmap for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Exactly. And these perfections are not just for monks or nuns. They're qualities that we can all cultivate in our daily lives. Generosity isn't just about giving money. It's about giving our time, our energy, our attention, our kindness. Virtue isn't just about following rules. It's about living in accordance with our values and acting with integrity. Patience isn't just about waiting in line. It's about cultivating a calm and steady mind, even in the face of challenges. Effort isn't just about working hard. It's about applying ourselves wholeheartedly to whatever we do. Meditation isn't just about sitting on a cushion. It's about cultivating mindfulness and awareness in every moment. And wisdom isn't just about having knowledge. It's about applying that knowledge to live a more skillful and compassionate life.
Wow, that's a lot to take in. It's a whole framework for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
It is. And it's not something that happens overnight. It takes time, effort, and commitment. But the rewards are immeasurable.
So we've talked about avoiding negative actions, cultivating positive qualities, finding meaning in our work, and engaging in meditation. But there's still one more piece of the puzzle I'm curious about.
Okay.
The speaker mentioned the power of silence and how it can help us cultivate greater awareness and peace.
Right. They talked about their experience with noble silence during meditation retreats and how challenging it was initially to refrain from talking, sharing, and expressing themselves.
I can imagine.
Yeah,
We live in such a noisy world, constantly bombarded with information and stimulation. The idea of intentional silence can feel almost radical.
it can. But the speaker emphasized the transformative power of silence, how it can help us quiet the mind, deepen our self-awareness, and connect with a deeper sense of peace and stillness.
It's like hitting the pause button on the chaos of life and giving ourselves permission to just be.
Exactly.
Oh.
And in that stillness, we can often hear our own inner wisdom more clearly. We can connect with our intuition, our creativity, and our deeper sense of purpose.
It's like creating space for the whispers of our soul to be heard.
Beautifully said. And the speaker encouraged us to consider incorporating periods of silence into our own lives, even if it's just for a few hours or a day.
Like creating a personal Sabbath, a time to disconnect from the noise and reconnect with ourselves.
Exactly. It's a practice that can help us recharge our batteries, gain clarity, and return to our lives with a renewed sense of purpose and energy.
And I think that's a perfect place to
Yeah.
to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive, exploring the concept of right action as an art form, delving into the 5 precepts and 5 remembrances, and touching on the importance of right livelihood, meditation, and silence.
Yeah, it's a lot to digest, but it's incredibly rich and inspiring. And I'm excited to continue our exploration in the next part of our deep dive, where we'll delve deeper into the practices of meditation, mindfulness, and compassion, and explore how these teachings can help us create the lives we truly want.
Absolutely, looking forward to it. So, we were talking about the power of silence before and how even brief periods of stillness can help us reconnect with ourselves and cultivate a deeper sense of peace.
Yeah, it's like hitting the reset button on our minds and allowing space for our inner wisdom to emerge.
Hmm. And speaking of inner wisdom, I'm reminded of that Gandhi quote you shared earlier, uh, how I live my life every day, that is my teaching.
Mm,
It seems to connect deeply with the idea of right action.
absolutely. It highlights that our actions are a constant expression of who we are and what we believe. The 5 precepts, for example, can be seen as practical guidelines for aligning our actions with our values.
Right. Thinking back to the first precept, refraining from killing, that story about monks sweeping insects from their path has really stuck with me.
Yeah.
It's such a beautiful example of extending compassion to all beings.
It challenges us to consider the interconnectedness of all life. Even seemingly small actions can have ripple effects, and it's important to be mindful of the impact we're having on the world around us.
So it's not just about avoiding physical harm, it's about cultivating a sense of reverence for all living things and considering how our choices might be causing harm even unintentionally.
Precisely. And the second precept, refraining from stealing, also invites us to broaden our perspective.
Yeah, I remember the speaker talking about how stealing can take many forms, like cheating on taxes or supporting companies that exploit their workers.
Mhm.
It's about recognizing that our choices as consumers have ethical implications.
It's about being mindful of where our money is going and ensuring that we're not contributing to systems that perpetuate harm or injustice. Gandhi said it best: there's enough for everyone's need, but not enough for everyone's greed.
It's a sobering reminder to examine our own desires and consider whether we're taking more than our fair share.
Now, the third precept, refraining from unwholesome sexual conduct, often sparks a lot of debate and confusion. But the speaker emphasized that it's not about repressing sexuality, but rather approaching it with mindfulness, responsibility, and respect.
It's about recognizing that sexual energy is a powerful force that can be used for good or for ill. It's about making conscious choices that align with our values and that don't cause harm to ourselves or others.
The speaker also touched upon the idea that intimate relationships can be a path to spiritual growth and awakening, but it requires a deep understanding of ourselves and our partners, clear communication, and a commitment to mutual respect and growth.
And the speaker also shared their own experience with refraining from intoxicants. They spoke about how drugs lost their appeal after discovering a more fulfilling path through meditation and spiritual practice.
It speaks to the idea that true happiness and fulfillment come from within, not from external substances.
Right.
It's about cultivating inner peace, clarity, and wisdom, rather than seeking temporary escapes.
And the fifth precept, refraining from harmful speech, feels particularly relevant these days. With social media and the constant flow of information, it's so easy to get caught up in negativity and spread hurtful words without even thinking.
It's a reminder to be mindful of the power of our words. Words can wound or they can heal. They can build bridges or they can create walls. Choosing to speak with kindness, compassion, and honesty is a powerful act of right action.
And the speaker challenged us to be more like those communicative geniuses who make others feel good simply by talking to them.
Mhm.
It's about radiating warmth and positivity through our words, creating a sense of connection and upliftment.
So we've talked about the 5 precepts as guidelines for ethical conduct. But the Buddhist teachings go beyond simply avoiding negative actions. They also emphasize the importance of actively cultivating positive qualities. And for that, we have the 5 remembrances.
Ah, yes. These are the reflections on some pretty profound truths that you mentioned earlier, the ones that can be a bit unsettling at first, but ultimately help us live more wisely and compassionately.
Exactly. So the first one is remembering that we are aging. Our bodies are constantly changing and youth doesn't last forever. It's easy to get caught up in the illusion of permanence, but the truth is that everything is in flux.
That's a tough one to swallow, especially in a culture that's obsessed with youth and beauty. But I can see how embracing the reality of aging can help us appreciate the present moment and focus on what truly matters.
And the second remembrance is remembering that we are subject to illness. Our bodies are fragile, and we can't always control our health. This one can be particularly challenging, especially if we're facing health challenges.
Yeah.
But the speaker emphasized that these remembrances aren't meant to make us fearful or morbid, but rather to help us appreciate the preciousness of life and live with greater intention.
The third remembrance is remembering that we will die one day. It's the ultimate reality check. Contemplating our own mortality can help us prioritize what's truly important and let go of things that don't really matter.
Yeah, it's like that saying, live each day as if it were your last. Not in a reckless way, but with a sense of urgency and appreciation for the gift of life.
The fourth remembrance is remembering that everything and everyone is constantly changing. Nothing is permanent. We can't cling to things or people as if they'll always stay the same. Hmm.
This can be a difficult truth to accept, especially when it comes to loss and heartbreak.
It's about learning to let go, to embrace the flow of life, and to find peace amidst impermanence.
And the fifth remembrance is remembering that our actions have consequences, that we create our own karma. This one ties back to the idea of right action, reminding us that our choices have ripple effects. What we sow, we shall reap.
It's about recognizing that we're not just isolated individuals, but part of a larger web of interconnectedness. Our actions impact others, and their actions impact us. It's a call to take responsibility for our choices and to strive to create positive ripples in the world.
And the speaker offered a very practical way to cultivate greater awareness of our karmic footprint, using stones or a notebook to tally positive and negative actions throughout the day. It's like a personal karma tracker. I love that idea. It's a simple yet powerful way to bring mindfulness to our choices and see where we might need to make adjustments. And they also highlighted the importance of daily rituals, like starting the day with an intention for loving kindness and ending it with a reflection on our actions. It's about setting the stage for mindful action and creating a feedback loop that helps us stay aligned with our values and aspirations.
So it's about weaving these teachings into the fabric of our lives, making them a natural part of who we are and how we move through the world. It's about moving from understanding these concepts intellectually to embodying them in our daily lives.
Right. It's about bridging the gap between theory and practice. It's about moving from knowledge to wisdom.
Speaking of embodying these teachings, I'm curious to explore the idea of right livelihood in more depth. It's about finding meaningful and purposeful work. But how do we actually do that?
It's a question that many of us grapple with. The speaker emphasized the importance of identifying our values, passions, and skills. It's about finding that sweet spot where our talents and interests intersect with the needs of the world.
Right. I remembered that story about the Cambodian monk Mahagosananda who considered landmine removal his dharma practice. It's such a powerful example of how any work can be infused with a sense of sacredness and purpose when we approach it with the right intention.
It challenges us to think beyond just earning a paycheck and to consider how our work can contribute to a greater good. How can we use our skills and talents to make a positive difference in the world?
But let's be realistic, work isn't always easy or glamorous. There are challenges, conflicts, and frustrations that can arise in any work environment. The speaker even talked about the 5 poisons that can easily sabotage our best efforts.
Ah, yes. Ignorance, pride, jealousy, enmity, and desire.
Yeah.
Those sneaky saboteurs that can create negativity, conflict, and stress. They can make even the most fulfilling work feel draining and demoralizing.
So how do we navigate the inevitable challenges of the workplace while staying true to our values and aspirations? How do we avoid getting sucked into the drama and negativity?
The speaker offered a powerful antidote to these poisons, a quote from the Metta Sutra about cherishing all living beings and radiating kindness over the entire world. They even suggested hanging it over our desks as a reminder.
It's like a little dose of spiritual armor to help us stay grounded in compassion and kindness, even when faced with difficult people or situations.
It's a reminder to approach our work with the spirit of generosity, recognizing that everyone is doing their best, even if their best isn't always perfect.
It's about seeing the humanity in others, even those who might be difficult to work with. And it's about remembering that our ultimate goal is to cultivate inner peace and happiness, regardless of external circumstances. It's about recognizing that work is just one aspect of our lives, and that our true worth and value don't depend on our job titles or accomplishments.
Now, speaking of cultivating inner peace, let's shift our focus to meditation. We often think of meditation as a way to escape from the stresses of life, but the speaker emphasized that it's actually about learning to engage with life more skillfully. It's about training our minds to be more present, more focused, and more compassionate. And it's about developing the inner resources we need to navigate the inevitable challenges and uncertainties of life with greater ease and resilience.
It's not about checking out of reality, but about showing up more fully and consciously. And the speaker shared a framework for applying that mindful awareness to both our inner world and our outer actions, the four great efforts.
Right? The first effort is about avoiding creating new negative thoughts and actions.
Mm.
It's about recognizing the patterns in our thinking and behavior that
Mm.
lead to suffering and making a conscious choice to interrupt those patterns.
It's like putting up a stop sign before we head down a familiar but destructive path.
The second effort is about overcoming existing negative thoughts and actions. It's about acknowledging our shortcomings with honesty and compassion and making a conscious effort to change our thinking and behavior.
It's about recognizing that we are not our thoughts or actions, that we have the power to choose differently.
And the speaker shared that beautiful image of the child scrubbed clean, open to new experiences and creating new positive karma. It's a reminder that we always have the potential to start fresh, to make different choices, and to shape our lives in more fulfilling ways.
It's a powerful image of hope and possibility, but it also implies that there's work involved, that we have to make an effort to cultivate these positive qualities.
That's where the third effort comes in, developing wholesome thoughts and leading an enlightened life. It's about cultivating qualities that lead to greater happiness, peace, and well-being. Qualities like loving kindness, compassion, generosity, patience, wisdom, and ethical conduct. It's about consciously choosing to focus on the good, to nurture the positive, and to live in a way that benefits ourselves and others.
The speaker emphasized that it's not about achieving some kind of perfect saintly state. It's about making progress one step at a time, one day at a time.
Right. It's about recognizing that enlightenment is a journey, not a destination, and that every moment offers an opportunity to practice, to learn, and to grow.
And they also talked about the six perfections as a roadmap for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life: generosity, virtue, patience, effort, meditation, and wisdom. These qualities are available to all of us, not just monks and nuns.
They're qualities that we can all cultivate in our daily lives. Generosity is about giving our time, energy, attention, and kindness. Virtue is about living in accordance with our values and acting with integrity. Patience is about cultivating a calm and steady mind. Effort is about applying ourselves wholeheartedly to whatever we do. Meditation is about cultivating mindfulness. And wisdom is about applying our knowledge to live a skillful and compassionate life.
It's a framework for approaching life with greater awareness, purpose, and compassion.
Now, when we talk about effort in Buddhism, it's important to remember that there's also an element of effortlessness that comes with practice.
That reminds me of something the Dalai Lama said about patience. He said that when someone tests our patience, they're offering us an opportunity to practice and grow.
It's such a powerful reframing. Instead of seeing challenges as obstacles, we can see them as opportunities to cultivate the very qualities we're striving for. It's about responding to difficult situations with grace and wisdom, rather than reacting with anger or frustration.
And that leads us to the fourth effort, maintaining the goodness that already exists within us. It's about recognizing that we all have moments of pure joy, unconditional love, and acceptance. The challenge is holding on to those and letting them permeate our lives.
It's about cultivating a sense of gratitude for the good things in our lives, no matter how small they may seem. And it's about recognizing that even in the midst of difficulty and suffering, there's always a spark of goodness and light within us.
And the speaker used a great analogy to illustrate this balance of effort and effortlessness, the image of Michael Jordan practicing basketball every day.
Right. He put in the work, but on the court, he moved with incredible grace and ease. It looked effortless. That's what we're aiming for in our spiritual practice as well, integrating these teachings so deeply that they become second nature.
Like the concept of dzogchen, which emphasizes effortless awareness and being present in every moment.
It's about cultivating a state of being where our actions flow naturally from a place of wisdom and compassion, without the need for constant striving or effort. It's about trusting our inner guidance and allowing ourselves to move through life with grace and ease.
It sounds a bit paradoxical, effortless effort, but I can see how it's something that develops over time with practice. Like any skill, the more we practice mindfulness, compassion, and ethical conduct, the more natural and effortless they become.
Exactly. And it's a journey that's worth taking, because ultimately these teachings are about waking up to the fullness of who we are and living a life that is aligned with our deepest truth and purpose.
Speaking of waking up, I remember the speaker posed a powerful question at the beginning of their talk. are we creating the lives we truly want?
It's a question that invites us to step back and take stock of our choices, our habits, and our overall direction in life. Are we living in a way that brings us genuine fulfillment and contributes to the well-being of others? Or are we simply going through the motions, sleepwalking through life?
It's a call to wake up to the present moment and to make conscious choices that align with our values and aspirations.
And it's a reminder that we have the power to shape our lives, to create something meaningful and beautiful, to make a positive difference in the world.
So how do we begin to create the lives we truly want? The speaker offered a wealth of practices and principles that can guide us on this journey. They talked about cultivating mindfulness, practicing ethical conduct, finding meaning and purpose in our work, harnessing the power of silence, and embracing the transformative potential of meditation.
It's a toolbox for living more intentionally and creating lives that are aligned with our deepest values and aspirations.
And remember, it's not about achieving some distant goal of enlightenment. It's about waking up to the present moment, to the inherent goodness within us, and to the interconnectedness of all beings. It's about embracing the beauty and the messiness of life, the joys and the sorrows, the triumphs and the setbacks. It's about showing up fully and authentically, with an open heart and a willingness to learn and grow.
Beautifully said. And that's a perfect segue to our next discussion point. The speaker talked about a powerful meditation practice that can help us cultivate that sense of interconnectedness and compassion.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's called metta meditation, also known as loving kindness meditation. It's a practice that can literally change our brains and hearts, making us more kind, compassionate, and connected to ourselves and others.
That sounds amazing. I'm definitely interested in learning more about that. But first, I think we need to give our listeners a moment to digest all this wisdom. We've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive. We've explored the 5 remembrances as reminders of what truly matters in life, delved deeper into right livelihood as a path to finding meaning and purpose in our work, and touched upon the transformative power of meditation and the 4 great efforts. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but it's also incredibly inspiring. These teachings offer a path to greater peace, happiness, and fulfillment. And they remind us that we have the power to create the lives we truly want.
When we come back, we'll explore metta meditation in more detail and see how this simple yet profound practice can help us cultivate more love and kindness in our lives. So before the break, we were about to dive into metta meditation, a practice for cultivating love and kindness. You mentioned it can even change our brains and hearts. Is that for real?
It sounds pretty amazing, right?
Yeah.
But there's actually a growing body of research that suggests that practices like metta meditation can have a profound impact on our well-being, both mentally and physically.
Okay, I'm officially intrigued. So break it down for me. What exactly is metta meditation?
Okay, so metta is a Pali word that translates to loving kindness or friendliness.
Right.
It's a practice of cultivating a deep sense of care and compassion, first towards ourselves, then extending it outwards to others.
You mentioned starting with ourselves, and I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with.
You're absolutely right. And it's so essential because if we can't offer kindness and compassion to ourselves, it's much harder to extend it authentically to others.
Mhm.
Think of it like filling your own cup first before you can pour into someone else's.
I like that. That's a good analogy. So how does this meditation work in practice? What do you actually do?
It's actually pretty simple. You sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus your attention on specific phrases or intentions, repeating them silently to yourself. The speaker shared a beautiful example based on the traditional Metta Sutra.
Oh, right. They mentioned wishing happiness, healing, protection, and ultimately awakening for all beings.
Exactly. It starts with wishing these things for yourself. You might say phrases like, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe, may I be free. And then you gradually expand outwards, first to loved ones, then to neutral people, then to difficult people, and eventually to all beings everywhere.
Wow, that's powerful. It's like radiating waves of love and kindness out from your own heart to encompass the entire world.
That's a great way to put it. And the speaker highlighted some incredible benefits that come with practicing meditation regularly. They mentioned things like sleeping more easily, having pleasant dreams, feeling more loved and protected, and even having a more radiant appearance.
Okay, a radiant appearance sold. But seriously, those are some pretty compelling benefits.
They really are. And it goes beyond just personal benefits. When we cultivate more love and kindness within ourselves, it naturally affects how we interact with others and the world around us. It can ripple outwards, inspiring others to do the same.
Right. We become walking beacons of positivity. It's like that Gandhi quote again, be the change you wish to see in the world.
Exactly. And speaking of cultivating positive change, the speaker also talked about using mantras in meditation, those sacred sounds or phrases that are often used in spiritual practices.
Right. They said it's not so much about the literal meaning of the words, but about the vibrational energy they create.
That's right. Mantras are like sonic tools that can help focus the mind, shift our energy, and connect us with deeper states of awareness.
They even mentioned chanting mantras, which sounds like a really powerful way to connect with something larger than ourselves.
It can be. And
Mm.
the speaker encouraged us to approach chanting with a sense of playfulness and joy, not to worry about sounding good or having a perfect voice. It's about letting go, allowing the sound to move through you, and connecting with the vibration.
It sounds like a beautiful way to release inhibitions and tap into a deeper sense of spirituality.
And that reminds me of something else the speaker emphasized, the importance of silence. We talked about incorporating short periods of silence into our lives, but they also shared their experience with an even more intense form of silence, noble silence, which is practiced during meditation retreats.
Right, they talked about how challenging it was initially, but how it ultimately led to a profound sense of peace, clarity, and self-awareness. It's like stripping away all the external noise and distractions so you can finally hear your own inner voice.
Exactly. And they encouraged us to consider, even if it's just for a few hours or a day, creating a personal Sabbath, a
Mm.
time to disconnect from the world and reconnect with ourselves.
Yeah.
No phones, no internet, no social media, just pure, unplugged silence.
It sounds incredibly rejuvenating. In our constantly connected world, I think we could all benefit from a little more of that.
Absolutely. And that stillness and silence can inform our actions, helping us make choices that are more aligned with our values and aspirations.
It all comes full circle.
It does.
So it's like all these practices and teachings, right action, the 5 precepts, the 5 remembrances, meditation, mantras, silence, they all work together to support our journey toward a more awakened and fulfilling life.
You got it. And remember that powerful metaphor the speaker used, how life itself is the ultimate art form and we are the creators.
Right. It's such a beautiful reminder that we have the power to shape our lives, to make choices that create beauty, meaning, and well-being.
But it's not just about creating a pretty picture, it's about taking responsibility for our creations. If we're the artists of our lives, then we need to be mindful of the choices we make and the impact they have, not just on ourselves, but on the world around us.
So we have the paintbrushes, the colors, the canvas, all the tools we need to create something beautiful and meaningful. Now it's up to us to step into our roles as artists and create the masterpieces we were born to create.
Beautifully said. And remember, it's not about achieving some kind of perfect, flawless creation. It's about the process, the journey, the willingness to experiment, to learn, and to grow. It's about embracing the imperfections, the messiness, the unexpected twists and turns that make life so interesting.
So what does this all mean for you, dear listener? What resonated most deeply with you in this deep dive? What practices or principles are you inspired to explore further? What small step can you take today to bring a little more mindfulness, a little more kindness, a little more action into your life?
The Buddhist teachings remind us that enlightenment isn't some distant goal to be achieved. It's available to us in every moment. It's in the way we breathe, the way we speak, the way we interact with others, the choices we make, the intentions we set. It's in the awareness we bring to each and every moment.
So keep exploring, keep practicing, keep creating. The journey is the destination. And until next time, keep diving deep and keep shining bright.